to Left Turns, Right Hooks. We have a special edition of this episode. It's been a few weeks since last did an episode here, but I've brought Tyler Lopes in to help me out in a wonderful series. We are doing another fantasy booking. We started this on his podcast last year, kind of around this time, booking a lot of PLEs, through a few PLEs, did a long WrestleMania series on his podcast. Lopes Goes Last, so go check that out. But we decided to do another long-term booking. The man of the hour is John Cena. It's his final year as a superstar for WWE. Used to be polarizing, now he's beloved and will be very missed at the end of this year. So, Tyler, thank you for joining me on this first part of a series of podcasts. We're going to book John Cena's retirement tour. Part one is Cena's final road to WrestleMania. We're going to divide this whole retirement year into three podcasts. The first will focus on the road to WrestleMania. Then we'll hit the heat. Then we'll hit the heat of the summer with Cena, and then finally look at his final 4 months in WWE. So again, Tyler, thank you for joining me.
Dan, thank you so much for having me. I said this before we started recording, and I meant every word of it. I can't remember the last time I've been this excited to do some kind of podcast or to just do a booking or whatever it is. I have been waiting for this. So excited. And as Schoolboy Q would say, John Cena is looking like the man of the year. Not just the man of the hour, sir, the man of the year, because we're going to be booking the final year of John Cena. I can't wait. Gosh, I'm excited, brother.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think we're both on the same page of wanting Cena to just accomplish a lot this year in his last run. I'm very excited to hear your takes on all of this. He deserves a year-long goodbye. As much as he's given to the company, he deserves this year-long goodbye. A lot like how we've done, like Kobe Bryant, other Tom Brady, other prominent figures in their sports. John Cena kind of gets that year-long goodbye, well deserved. Um, so like I said, we're gonna break this down by PLEs through WrestleMania 41 in this episode. So we're gonna get through the Rumble Chamber. That is gonna include at least one of the Saturday Night main events. I'm expecting probably two, but we know of sure for one Saturday Night main event. So a lot of massive events within these first 4 months of John Cena's final year. So this road to WrestleMania, Tyler, I'm going to kick it to you. Let you go first. Lay out your roadmap for booking John Cena's final year.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate the opportunity to go first here. That way you can look at all my mistakes and not do them. That's a good, smart strategy, Dan. I appreciate it, and I'm happy to be the guinea pig here. So, full disclosure, guys, I have a few things I want to say before I actually get into the real booking here. So, number one, I did not have John Cena at Saturday night's main event during this booking. Why? I didn't know it was another one. I just didn't. I'm sorry. I'm dumb. Okay, so you can forgive me for that. I've said it up front. Okay, so when I skip it inevitably, I think it's sometime in January. When I skip it, just forgive me. Move on. It's fine, and we're gonna be just fine. Okay. Number two, the first 4 months of my booking. I can't speak for Dan, but I can speak for me. The first 4 months of my booking require a lot more exposition than the last 8 are going to require. So this is going to be a bit more not worthy, but wordy, excuse me. It's going to have a little bit more promo stuff that I have to kind of dive into for various reasons. Mainly, I want everybody to understand the psychology of what each of these characters are feeling. Mainly, of course, being John Cena. Okay? So, with that being said, here we go. We start on January 6th. The first Raw on Netflix, and John Cena opens the show because, of course, he does. Who else would? He comes out full of life and vigor and takes the mic and says, "Well, we made it. This is it. In 360 days, I will no longer be an employee of the WWE. For the last 22 years, you've seen me step into this ring and give everything I have. And for the next 360 days, starting tonight, I plan to continue to do so. With one major difference. I'm running out of time. April 27th, 2018. That was the last time John Cena won a one-on-one match in this company. And ironically, it was against the man who is now my boss. 2,505. That is the number of days it has been since John Cena has beaten a full-time wrestler one-on-one. For the visual learners, that is 6 years, 10 months, and 10 days ago. I've got one. I've got 1 year to reverse it all. And 1 year to prove one last time that I am the man you say I am. Some of you may know I've already declared myself for the Royal Rumble, and I plan on winning it. I don't have time to wait around for things to come to me. I don't have another 7 damn years to lick my wounds. My time is now. And this time, it is now or never. That's going to be a t-shirt. We skip ahead to January 20th, so that's 2 weeks later. Braun Breaker has been tasked with finding a tag team partner for his match against Finn Balor and JD McDonough. The problem is he has alienated himself from everyone else in the locker room. Even people who hate Finn, like Damian Priest, for instance, won't team with him because they look at Breaker as selfish and arrogant. So Breaker walks out and grabs the mic for the match and says, "So, no partner. Fine then. I'll just kick both your asses myself." And right as the bell is about to ring, John Cena's music hits. And it is announced, "And his tag team partner," so on and so forth. Cena and Breaker inevitably win their match, with Breaker ultimately getting the pin over JD McDonough. This is going to give Breaker some much-needed momentum going into his scheduled title match against Finn Balor to defend the Intercontinental Championship, of course, against Balor. At the end of the match, Breaker and Cena shake hands, and Cena nods in respect before giving Breaker the ring. We then fast forward to the Royal Rumble. A bit of context before getting into this match. Solo Sikoa at the beginning of the night guaranteed that the real tribal chief, not Roman Reigns, will win the Royal Rumble tonight, no matter what it takes. And Gunther also defeated CM Punk to retain the World Heavyweight Championship, and Cody Rhodes once again defeats Kevin Owens to retain the undisputed WWE Championship. Moving ahead now to the Royal Rumble. John Cena enters at number 30. Don't complain. He needs it. He's like 52 or something. He's not going to be pulling out any Iron Man Royal Rumble appearances, okay, guys? So anybody who wants him to go from number 1 and, eliminate 13 dudes and just, like, come on, stop it. Stop it. You need some help. So anyway, Cena is left in the ring at 30 with Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, Pete Dunne, who entered at 29, just for context, Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns, and Jacob Fatu. So that is the situation that Cena is entering into at number 30. The Bloodline then clears out most of their competition as Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, and John Cena make up your final 4, with both Reigns and Cena in a very, very bad way. Fatu and Sikoa then focus on beating Roman Reigns, because obviously they look at him as the bigger threat than Cena is, because of course you and I would as well, and they actually do so successfully, teaming up to eliminate Roman Reigns from the Rumble, meaning it is just Cena and Sikoa and Fatu left. As Cena pulls himself up in the corner, struggling, trying to fight back against the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa stand on the opposite corners of the ring, leaning against the ropes, just waiting to pounce. Can Super Cena pull this thing off one more time? Suddenly, Jacob Fatu super kicks Solo Sikoa so hard that it flips him over the top rope. Crowd goes crazy as it seems that Jacob Fatu has turned on his tribal chief. And for those of you who remember, liken back to somewhere around 2010, 2011, there was a match that John Cena had, a triple threat match for the WWE Championship against both members of D-Generation X, and that match opened virtually the same way with Shawn Michaels super kicking Triple H out of the ring. Now, obviously, Triple H went in between the ropes, but we can say Sikoa went over the top rope and is eliminated from the Rumble. So it likens back to that. Cena stands there in shock along with the rest of us as Jacob Fatu has again seemingly turned on his tribal chief. Jacob then turns to face Cena, pounds his chest, and screams, but as fantastic an athlete as Jacob Fatu is, he's also a rabid animal, which means sometimes he doesn't think. So he charges at Cena, full of anger to take him out. Cena backs up, pulls down the top rope. Fatu leaps over the top rope and is eliminated. John Cena wins the 2025 Royal Rumble, or so he thinks. He notices after a few seconds of screaming and celebrating as the crowd goes crazy that he never actually heard the bell ring. Suddenly, he hears something that he's not used to hearing, and he looks down at Jacob Fatu outside the ring, and he notices him laughing. And then Solo Sikoa angrily stomps over to Jacob Fatu, who's still laughing. And then Solo Sikoa starts laughing and puts his arm back around Jacob Fatu. As Cena stands there confused, he notices the timer just started. 10, 9, 8. What? The Rumble is 30 people. Suddenly, the buzzer sounds. If you smell! As The Rock comes out at number 31. He can do anything he wants, guys. He's on the board, right? So why not? He comes out at number 31. Cena, having already thought he won the Rumble, his head, his heart, his body are no longer in it. And in short order, The Rock throws John Cena over the top rope to win the Royal Rumble for real this time. And as The Rock celebrates on the turnbuckle, John Cena sits dejected on the ramp in a mirror image of the final scene of WrestleMania 28 when Cena lost to The Rock that night. Way, way back then. So, the next night on Raw, or I suppose technically 2 nights later, on Raw, Cena comes out to the ring and addresses the WWE Universe. Let's cut to the chase. I failed. Seems I've been doing that a lot lately, but you all know me. You've known me a long time. I've never been one to make excuses. But you also know me as the guy who's always been honest with you and who always has the answers. Well, since I've always been honest with you, I feel I owe it to you all to say, I don't have any answers right now. I don't know how I could have performed any better. I don't know how The Rock can just come out at number 31 in a 30-man Rumble. I don't know what my path is on the road to WrestleMania, and at this point, I don't even know if I belong here. Maybe this was just all a bad idea. Maybe I've aged out. Maybe. He puts the mic down, and he's about to exit the ring when Triple H's music hits. Triple H comes down to the ring, and he says, John, before you go, I just have some things I want to tell you. I want to thank you for blessing us all with a year of John Cena. I know, I get it. You're in a tough spot, but you're John Cena. In all our years together, the words never give up have always kept you going. Before it was ever on a t-shirt. And those 3 words have never been more important than they are right now. There are certain things in this industry that at this point, John Cena no longer has to earn. One of those things is a second chance. So I'm here to announce that we will be holding a tournament to determine the 6 participants in the Raw Elimination Chamber match. The winner of that match will be the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. There will be 2 singles matches tonight and also 2 singles matches next week. The winners of those matches will determine the participants who will enter the pods. The other 2 spots, well, you'll just have to stay tuned to find out. The first match, which is happening next, is the Intercontinental Champion Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn. Hold for applause of the audience. Woohoo, Sami. The second match tonight, which will happen a little bit later on in the show, will be John Cena versus Damian Priest. Because, while John, you've certainly earned a second chance, nobody earns an easy one. And maybe, if you win, you'll get yourself back to the main event. So go get to stretching, old man. You're going to need it, as he smacks John Cena on the shoulder and walks away. So before I continue, I do want to say full disclosure here, folks. I originally had Bronson Reed in this booking at this spot. And further along in the story as well, but not in this particular video. But he was going to be further along in future videos and my future bookings. But obviously, with the kind of new information coming out about how poorly his ankle surgery went, I no longer felt confident that he would be coming back after the Rumble. It seemed like 8 weeks was a realistic time frame, and then now it no longer does. There's been reports saying he may not even make WrestleMania, so I didn't feel comfortable putting him in this booking, so I swapped him out with Priest. So if this seems a bit sloppy, it seems a bit like Priest is acting not the way he needs to, please forgive me. I tried to work out the kinks last minute as best I could, but just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so back to February 3rd, edition of Raw. So in the match between Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn pins the Intercontinental Champion after Braun Breaker is cost the match by an interfering Ludwig Kaiser, who was sent down by Gunther to cause chaos in the match. As he looks at Breaker and Rollins as his 2 biggest threats. Braun Breaker went to spear, Zayn. I guess I forgot to change that. My apologies. As he looks at Breaker and Zayn as his 2 biggest threats. Breaker went to spear Zayn through the steel steps, but was intercepted by a knee from Kaiser, who was wearing an exposed metal brace. He was in such a bad way, he meaning Breaker after the match, that he needed to be helped to the back by doctors and trainers so that they could check him for a concussion. 2 matches later, not in the main event of the show, by the way, John Cena takes on Damian Priest. In that match, John Cena puts up one hell of a fight, but he struggles throughout the match to be able to put Damian Priest away. Eventually, he does get Priest up for the AA and plants him, but Priest kicks out. Eventually, down the road, Priest's brute strength and unrelenting offense is just too much, and he hits Cena with a South of Heaven chokeslam. 1, 2, 3. Damian Priest has beaten John Cena and advances to the chamber. Cena is completely dejected after this match, and he walks gingerly and shamefully to the locker room. Just before the main event, the camera cuts to backstage as John Cena stumbles into the trainer's room to be worked on, with Braun Breaker still in there being evaluated for a concussion. Breaker has an ice pack on his head, trying to lick his wounds. So I'm going to go back and forth between Cena and Braun Breaker here. Cena says, "They get you?" Breaker replies, No, I'm cleared. Good to go, or at least I will be. Good. Cena looks down, shuffles, holds his back, holds his rib cage, and grimaces in pain. You all right there, old timer? No, I'm not. Did you break your ribs or something? It's not quite my ribs that are broken right now. You know, John, I want you to know something. I know we didn't really get off on the best foot down in NXT a couple years ago, but I want you to know I'm rooting for you. You're one of my heroes. You're the greatest of all time. You mean a lot to my family, my dad, my uncle, everyone. And the fact that you stood up for me and helped me out when no one else would showed me everything that I need to know. Thanks, Braun. Hopefully one day I can prove your family right. Breakker puts his arm on Cena's shoulder and says, "You already have." Pats him on the shoulder, gets up, puts the ice pack down, and walks away. Moving on to the next week of Raw, Drew McIntyre and CM Punk both qualify for the Chamber by beating Sheamus and Finn Balor, respectively. The whole show, John Cena sits in a press box. He seems dejected, barely looking up at the show, except to see the results of those two matches. After the conclusion of the second qualifier match, he leaves. Shortly after, Cena is leaving backstage with his luggage, and Adam Pearce catches up with him. Adam wonders where he's going. Cena tells him that he just doesn't see a future right now. He's going to go home and he's going to come back after Mania when maybe he'll be needed, because right now he just doesn't feel like he deserves to be there. Pearce tells him, well, that's fine, but you'll miss your match next week if you do that. Cena asks what match he's referring to, since he wasn't really told about it, and Pearce says, "Oh, you didn't hear? It's official. Next week will be a last chance tag team match featuring all 4 of the superstars who lost their qualifier matches. And the team that wins that tag team match will both enter the Chamber. So next week, it'll be Sheamus and Finn Balor versus John Cena and Braun Breaker." So next week, Cena just barely forces up a wry smile, tips his cap, and walks away. So the next week, Breakker helps Cena prepare for the match. A video airs slowly in parts throughout the show. One point, it's them working out together. One point, it's of them eating at a restaurant together. One of them, it's out in a football field training and stretching together, and everything in between. Breakker is really, really invested in getting John Cena back to his proper form, because not only does he want Cena to succeed, but he also wants to get in this Chamber match because he wants to be world champion. And importantly, as the night progresses, you could see John Cena's smiles and his confidence start to slowly come back, in large part thanks to Braun Breakker and his energy. So the match happens, the main event, and John Cena looks rejuvenated throughout the match, and it inevitably ends with Breakker getting another victory, this time pinning, once again, Finn Balor. So both Braun Breakker and John Cena are in the Chamber, but remember what I said earlier. The winner of those qualifier matches were the 4 people that entered the pods. So that still means that John Cena and Braun Breakker will have to start the Chamber, and they'll have to do it against each other. So we fast forward to the Elimination Chamber, and the only match of consequence that you guys need to worry about here is that Gunther retains the World Heavyweight Championship against Goldberg and officially retires him. So the Chamber rolls around, and Breakker and Cena both make it to the end of the match, although Cena had very little to do with it. The match is mainly dominated by Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, with Damian Priest eliminating Sami Zayn, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre before Braun Breakker cleans up Priest to leave it down to the 2 men who started the match, Braun Breakker and John Cena. They have a little mini match, but to this point, Cena has taken a curb stomp, 2 of Heavens, and a Claymore. So Cena has very, very little left in the tank. By the way, when I say curb stomp, I meant to say haluva kick. I swapped out Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins very, very late here. Forgive me, guys, for these little details that I missed. Like I said, I'm trying. So, a haluva kick, 2 South of Heavens, and a Claymore. So Cena has very, very little left in the tank. Braun Breakker then hits Cena with a spear, looking to mercifully take him out, but Cena kicks out. Breakker lines up for another spear, gets halfway through it, and he stops. He hesitates, and he yells at Cena to stay down. He doesn't want to do this. He then starts yelling at Cena, "You're better than this. Why can't you just put up a fight? Go out like a man, John! Be a man! Be a man and fight me, John! Fight me!" Cena then snatches Braun in a roll up. 1, 2, 3. Braun Breaker's apoplectic. He can't believe it. John Cena's music sounds. John Cena steals it, and the crowd goes cataclysmically bananas. John Cena is barely conscious, similar to the first time he won the Elimination Chamber match back in 2006. Breaker can't believe it. He's angry, he's confused, but at the same time, when he realizes what happens, he can't help but smile. Can't help but be proud. John Cena will face Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. So, yes, it's John Cena versus Gunther at WrestleMania. Cena only shows up on the Raw before WrestleMania, okay? So we're going to give him a couple weeks off to recover from what I would assume a brutal chamber match it would be, especially with him starting it and going the whole distance. He's probably going to need a couple of weeks to rest and recover that old body of his. And the only reason he returns is for a contract signing and promo with Gunther. So, we now fast forward to the Raw before WrestleMania and that contract signing with Gunther. In the weeks leading up, Gunther has just been cutting solo promos. He's been doing backstage interviews about John Cena. Nothing really too crazy to report, but obviously it's in the normal Gunther, very disrespectful, very dismissive way that we have grown to know and sometimes love and sometimes hate. So, they're in the ring. They face each other, and Gunther begins by saying that Cena, John, do you know why I do what I do? Do you know why I am the way that I am? Why I believe that I have been sent here to fix this great sport? It's because of you, John Cena. And no, not because you're my hero. It's the opposite. The reason that this great sport has been so tainted is because of you. You have taken opportunity after opportunity away from people like me for 2 decades. And now I am here on behalf of them to end you and end your dreams. These people say you're the GOAT. Why? Is it because you've been milked for every last drop of productivity you have left in your body? You're a shell of yourself, John. Do you know what they do to goats in my country? Do you know what they do to goats back in Austria? We milk them for everything they're worth, and then we throw them in a cage, and we kill them, and we use their meat to feed our children. If you are a goat, then you have been led to your slaughter at WrestleMania at the hands of me. The ring, get it on! And he signs the contract. Cena then grabs the microphone and says, well, I got to admit, congratulations, Gunther. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and you have managed to somehow put my demise in a way that I have never quite heard before. So, congrats to you on that. And now, I'm going to tell you something that you've probably never heard before. I agree with you. You're bigger than me. You're stronger than me. And at this point in my career, you're faster than me. Granted, that's not saying much. But here's another thing that you've never heard before, Gunther. You're not special. There have been dozens of superstars just like you, touted as the one that was going to finally put me down, end me, kill me, destroy my career, make me embrace the hate, make me lose my sense of self and purpose. Well, just in case you haven't noticed, Jack, every single one of those guys are gone, and I'm still here. So you're going to slaughter me at WrestleMania? You're welcome to try. But my career hasn't been defined by the men that I've beat, but rather by the men who couldn't figure out a way to beat me. I've lost to plenty of men, monsters, dead men, savages, beasts, but no one has ever figured out a way to keep me down. And looking at you right now, you're not special enough to keep me down either. When the lights go out on April 19th and the day is all said and done, you will wake up the next day with the next 15 years of your career ahead of you. You'll have 15 years of chances to take and mistakes to overcome, and this is my one shot. And when a man is put in a corner and has nothing to lose but time itself, there is no one more dangerous than that man, because he is willing to do anything to himself to win. So go ahead, chop me until my chest bleeds, power bomb me until my skull caves in, put me in your sleeper until my eyes pop out of my head, and I will just keep coming. At WrestleMania, I will be the only 17-time world champion in the history of this company, because you, Gunther, are not tough enough, brave enough, or special enough to stop me. My time is now. And you're for damn sure it is now or never. Cena also signs the contract. No fight ensues. I want to ensure that these two don't touch each other until WrestleMania. So, we move now to the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania. Gunther was right. This match is a slaughter. For 20 minutes, Gunther beats John Cena within an inch of his life. Worse than Brock Lesnar did at SummerSlam in 2014 or 2015, whatever year that was. Worse than Brock Lesnar did at Extreme Rules in 2014. Worse than anyone has beaten John Cena. But, as always, John Cena was also right. That no matter what Gunther threw at him, he couldn't find a way to keep John Cena down. As the match winds down, Gunther puts John Cena in the sleeper for the third time. Cena runs toward the corner turnbuckle, and the referee can't get out of the way and is crushed by the two bodies. This opens the door for Ludwig Kaiser to get involved, as Cena takes advantage of the opportunity to trip Gunther up and lock him in an STF, and Gunther visibly taps out and then passes out. As that happens, Kaiser rakes Cena's eyes and drags him out of the ring, not wanting to see his ring general lose the title. And he grabs John Cena, throws him out of the ring, and delivers his swinging DDT to John Cena on the announce table. At that point, it's looking real bad for John. Kaiser throws Cena back into the ring as Gunther stirs and rolls over to the cover. The referee also stirs and slowly counts. 1, 2, and Cena kicks out. Crowd goes crazy. Kaiser is now losing it at this point. He doesn't know what to do, and Gunther has no idea what's going on. He was knocked unconscious that whole time. He doesn't even know that Kaiser got involved. He's just running on instinct. So Kaiser runs to the other side of the ring, grabs a chair from over at the ringside area where the, timekeeper and everything is. He gets into the ring as Cena tries to get up. He raises up the chair, and as he does this, it's taken from behind on the other side of the ropes by Braun Breaker. A little bit of context. Earlier on in the night, Ludwig Kaiser cost Braun Breaker the Intercontinental Championship against Drew McIntyre. Cena ran down to the ring and tried to help, but it was unsuccessful. So Breaker lost the Intercontinental Championship. But regardless of the circumstances, Breaker has Cena's back. He rises up on the apron, takes the chair away from Kaiser, grabs Kaiser by the head and pulls him out of the ring. He then hits Kaiser in the gut with a chair and then in the back. Kaiser starts to run away, and Breaker chases him with the chair still in hand. Kaiser crumples to a heap, but Breaker fights through and uses the chair to stand up. Cena looks out, still exhausted, sees what Braun Breaker's done for him, despite the fact that he's beat to shreds too. He just had a match early on, and a brutal one against McIntyre, so he's exhausted. But Cena looks out as he leans against the turnbuckle, and he nods, And Breaker looks out at him as he's trying to stand up, and he nods back. Breaker then stands all the way up, and much like Cena did, he tips an invisible cap the way Cena would do. Then Cena's face changes. Suddenly he gets up, as does the previously unconscious Gunther. Shoulder tackle. And another one. The punch from Gunther misses, swings around. Cena hits that turning slam, whatever it's called. You can't see me. Five knuckle shuffle. The crowd is getting louder and louder and louder. Those fans at home can hear Michael Cole screaming on commentary, "He's gonna do it! My God, he's gonna do it! Big Match John is gonna do the impossible!" As he lifts Gunther up for the attitude adjustment, he's hit behind by a chair from Braun Breaker. Breaker stands over Cena, and he hits him again, and again, and again, and again, and again. He then pulls Gunther on top of him and leaves. Slowly, the referee, who is still down from the earlier attack, slowly counts. 1, 2. Cena kicks out. You cannot keep John Cena down. Not tonight. But as soon as John Cena kicks out, Gunther locks in the sleeper for the third time. And this time, Cena can't escape. Cena passes out in the sleeper as the bell rings, and Breaker slowly, gingerly walks up the ramp, smiling and laughing at his work as he looks down at the chair, bent and warped from John Cena's body. John Cena gave it the fight of his life, but ultimately, no matter what the circumstances, in his self-described one shot, he failed. And that is my first 4 months of the John Cena booking.
That's very impressive, Tyler. I really appreciate you going through all that, giving the promos, this especially the promo work. I think if we even get a shell of some of that promo work, we're gonna get some great promo work. I think from Cena no matter what. But man, you put a lot of time into that. That definitely shows, and very very impressed. I really, I think some of our similarities, and I think a lot of fan similarities will be that Gunther Cena confrontation, and I'm here for it so much. I think it's going to be a nice, Cena gives him as much as he can. We know they're both going to bring it. We've seen Gunther, go through a lot the last couple months, change, become better and better. I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
crowd's liking him more and more. They're appreciating more and more. So I if like if this is the collision at WrestleMania, we're in for a treat. We are. I think you have. We have a lot of similarity. I think in like some different people that will be involved in different ways. I have mine. I'll get into mine in a little bit, but um, yeah, no, I love the creativity. Just love it all. You laid it out really nice. The Rumble, the Rumble's the surprise that I'm very curious about there too. You're right. Rock can do whatever he wants. It's one of those like you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't even it's like curious too. Like if we see Rock again, is he gonna be kind of that do you smell, or are we just gonna get the final boss music? I mean, so many different ways that you can put him out there for whatever you need. Yeah, no, what brought you to bringing the Rock into play there for the Rumble?
Sure. So, yeah, I first of all, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I love this stuff. I feel like I have not necessarily a gift or talent or anything like that, but I just really enjoy doing these bookings. And I feel like, as difficult as they can be at times and how I have to get every piece to kind of fit together, it's so enjoyable that it doesn't really matter and the time passes and it just kind of goes and I love it. So appreciate kind words. So to answer your question about The Rock, so obviously this has nothing to do with the booking that happened here. So I'm more than willing to tell you where my brain would go here. And I think you'll really like this. So my idea of this is on SmackDown for them to have a number one contendership for the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber. Now I know it's kind of difficult because you want to have a women's chamber, and you know there's already two now, and that could get iffy. But guess what? I don't care because I'm not booking the women's elimination chamber this year. I'm booking John Cena. So I could do whatever I want. So shut up. Not you specifically, but other people that would yell, right? But so Roman Reigns wins that chamber. Now you're thinking, well, Tyler, if The Rock wins the Rumble and Cena wins the other chamber, that's both the matches. No, because Rock is not on television. Rock wins the Rumble and never shows up after that. He's off TV. No one has any idea what he's going to do. He could challenge Gunther. He could challenge Cody. We all assume he's challenging Cody. Nick Aldis assumes he's challenging Cody, but he can't take that chance. Because what if he assumes it and then Rock swerves everybody and says, no, I want to fight Gunther and win the championship that I never won? Well, then now he's without a WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes has no opponent, so he can't take that chance. So he does the chamber. Roman wins the chamber. So now it's going to be Roman versus Cody, and right after Roman wins that chamber is when The Rock's music hits. And he goes, no, 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 no. It's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania. I'll let you keep your silly little chamber, but it's going to be a triple threat match. So it's Cody, Roman, and The Rock at WrestleMania until a couple of weeks later when all three of them are in a ring and Roman Reigns just looks at Rock and looks at Cody and says, for God's sakes, I've worked so hard to get back here. How can this possibly get any worse? And then Paul Heyman goes, my tribal chief? Oh, God, Paul, what now? I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? You didn't do this. No, but it's time. It's time for what? It's time for that favor. CM Punk walks out to the ring and says, that's right, I'm cashing in my favor. I want a main event match at WrestleMania, and I'm going to get it. Yeah. So it's a fatal four-way at WrestleMania.
Did you work backwards from that to bring The Rock into the Royal Rumble? That's where I was trying to kind of figure out.
I wanted... So, okay. So I worked backwards from the match that I wanted with Cena at Mania. And the way I wanted that match to go, which is what I described, which is Braun Breaker costs him at WrestleMania. So how do I get there? How do I get to the point where, one, Cena and Braun touch each other, but in a chamber match, or just in general,
right?
They develop some kind of respect for one another. How can I get to that point? Can I feasibly have John Cena win the Royal Rumble and still tell this story in the way that I want to tell it? And I deemed it to be no. I could not have John Cena win the Royal Rumble because in order for John Cena to trust somebody that he doesn't already trust, that person has to give him something he does not have. What does Braun Breaker have outside of youth, athleticism, and frightening speed that you can't just give to somebody that John Cena may not have? Arrogance, confidence, ego. He has those things. How can I give what Braun Breaker has to John Cena? John Cena has to lose, and lose convincingly, and lose heartbreakingly. So then how do I tell that story? Because you can't have Cena be losing convincingly and then a week later having a 50-50 match with Gunther where he kicks out of everything and barely loses at WrestleMania, because then that story doesn't make sense. So how can I marry all these things together? Braun Breaker can help bring Cena back. It can help him gain his confidence back. That's kind of the way. So I worked backwards from the story I wanted to all the way to the Rumble. Okay, so I got the whole story. So then that means Cena doesn't win the Rumble. So who does? That's kind of that's kind of how I got there. Rock winning the Rumble was one of the last pieces of the puzzle for me because I had to work backwards. But to me, I feel like it's a little limited in terms of the realism of it. But for me, like outside of like a crazy like oh like somebody returns and wins or somebody debuts from NXT and wins it and they're pushed to the moon or something like that, like I feel like it's Rock, Roman, Cena. Like I don't think there's a whole lot of realistic options outside of those three right now that like make a lot of sense for a world title match unless Gunther loses it or Cody loses it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like I'm looking up and down the roster and I just don't see who's going to be a bigger money match than maybe Brock if he comes back and faces Gunther at WrestleMania. That's a super outsider's chance, but regardless of that, I feel like it's Rock, I feel like it's Roman, I feel like it's Cena.
That's
I
cool.
can
No,
get
yeah,
Roman
the Rock
in
was an
that
unexpected
match,
member of that when you brought that up. So I just had to. I was just curious how you got there. Didn't realize you had
Yeah.
worked
And
so
I will
far ahead and
say,
to bring it back. I'll take my turn here. I don't know if this will be as elaborate or as special or promo heavy as yours, but we'll give it a go here. I looked at this as kind of oh, and I forgot to put your last bullet point in here too as I'm advancing manually here. But to recap, for yours again, you're bringing The Rock in, Cena getting a lot of change, but still ultimately losing at WrestleMania 41 here. I think again, I was saying it's a match. I think a lot of people want, and I hope we get. And I have a lot of similar players throughout my booking here too. So um, but yeah, I'll just jump into it. So I kind of want to set the stage for the debut of Raw on Netflix. I think it's gonna be massive, utterly incredible, big deal that just brings out the who's who and who's not been seen in a long time type of party. We just got Seth Rollins and CM Punk announced for that. And then we have a battle for the Fala between the Tribal Chiefs, between Roman and Solo. So I mean, just those two matches alone, I think, are going to make this epic. We just had Jesse Ventura call a match on Saturday Night's Main Event just the other week. We've seen Eric Bischoff in NXT, so I'm like, I feel like we're getting primed for a lot of big things, big names,
oh yeah.
showing up here. Won't be shocked if we see The Rock. I expect, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Stone Cold, Undertaker. Who knows? Maybe we give Brock Lesnar, even someone like JBL that we haven't seen in a while, in some fashion. I feel like you honestly can think of any big name that's been tied to wrestling in the last 20, 25 years, and it's probably gonna, show up. And honestly, what a better way to kick off a massive show like the debut of Raw on Netflix. This hasn't been announced as of this record, but I'd be shocked if he wasn't there. But I think we both expect John Cena to be there. You talked about that. Expect John to see there and to kick it off. I think what a better what a better person to kick off Raw on Netflix. And I just think it's really sets the tone for that show. Really sets the tone for him for the year. And and I have a bucket list for John Cena. Um, and he says he's gonna come back, and he has a couple goals left. I feel we'll get like a somewhat reminiscent promo of kind of like how CM Punk came back a little bit. We get Cena talking about how he sees a lot of people coming up from NXT, a lot of just excellent wrestlers on that roster. Maybe mentioning he could go see the Heartbreak Kid one more time, for good measure. He wants to talk about adding more chapters to some of his historical rivalries. He's seen that the best in the world is back, and since he's considered the GOAT, maybe maybe we should ask for someone who, to declare the true top guy. Maybe we should set up a match for, who is the top guy, the best in the world, or want to consider the goat. Um, you know, he also brings up Randy Orton, I don't think we're gonna get names. I think we're gonna get nicknames. I'm gonna think he's gonna. I can see him like asking the crowd for, hey, do you think he can hold up one more time against the infamous Legend Killer? I think we get kind of these name drops. So we get through a lot of a promo of Cena saying, you know, bringing up former rivals. Kind of getting that indication that he's gearing up. He's ready for these epic matchups with these rivals. But then he turns his attention to the title scene. He thanks the fans for always being in his corner, for trying to push him as a Grand Slam champion, always bringing up that, always reminding people he's never won the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. Um, and he thanks the reminders for, that he's still tied with Ric Flair with 16 titles, world titles. Um, and if he's honest, he really does want to raise that Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship one time, just so he raised it one time. And if he wants to be considered the GOAT, number 17 would look wonderful to make that case for him being the GOAT. Um, so he cuts this promo, more of a promo talking about the titles, title belts, title scene, and then he gets cut off. He gets cut off by a guy you mentioned a lot, Braun Breaker, a guy that I'm going to mention a lot. If people have watched our videos on either of our channel, they should know by now we really like Braun Breaker. So he's going to be involved in stories, I think, no matter what, somehow, one way or the other. Braun comes out, gets in the mic, he stays at the top of the ramp. He holds up his title and he says, he is never going to give this title up, even for the likes of the legend of John Cena. He calls Cena old. He tells Cena he can't hang with him. He can't hang with the young bucks of the WWE. He's like, you probably even can't even hang with your old rivals like AJ Styles or maybe the final boss himself. He just runs Cena down. He just rips into him, just as like, you can't cut it, man. You took a lot of time off the last couple of years. You think you can somehow make it through a full year? That type of promo. Cena just looks at him and laughs. He says, "Okay, Braun, if you think I can't do this, if you think I can't hack this, that's fine. You're entitled to that." But he's like, "If you think I'm so easy to put down, let's put your title on tonight. If you think you're so hip, you think you're so high and mighty, let's see you prove it." He's like, "The whole world is watching. Let's show people across the globe that you are as good as you think you are." And I feel like a response like that from Cena will really, really get Braun just kind of going, because they've really been building Braun to be this, um, be this arrogant guy, this cocky wrestler that thinks he's the best one in the locker room. He's the next face of the WWE, which a lot of those things could end up being true. He's definitely, has that chance of being a mainstay, but he's still kind of that new guy around the block too. So it's like that cockiness just isn't going around well, and I think Cena's like the perfect foil to that cockiness. Um, so when we see that, we saw that pattern emerge, I think, around the Jey Uso storyline. He got it back from Jey, but he was kind of like, I just lost it to Jey, but he got it back. But I do think, I think Cena's on a nice foil to Braun right now. So I think we get that match. I think Cena's like, let's go, let's do this tonight. I think couple segments go by and we get that match. We get Pierce making that match official. Braun's like, "What in the world are you talking about?" It's like, "Braun, come on, let's do this. Let's show people out. Let's see what we can do up there." So I think we get that match on Raw and Netflix, the debut episode, and we get a heck of a match between them. I think a lot of the big moves are hit. Between them both. Cena dodged the super spear early, kicks out a couple other spears. It's super spear. The super spear I call, like where, Breaker just runs the ropes a couple different times and then hits a spear. It's not just a normal spear. I think Cena dodges one of those. He finally just takes a lot of spears to where Cena's He looks like he's down. He looks like he's down for the count. But he kicks out yet again from a super spear. Kicks out like 2.5. And then we just get that super Cena that we always love to see throughout his career. He rises from the ashes. They fight back and forth. They just trade punch after punch after punch. Finally Cena regains the advantage. He's attempted multiple AAs throughout this match. He finally hits one on his fourth attempt, but it's not enough. Braun Breaker kicks out. So Cena goes for it, hits a fifth AA, gets the five knuckle shuffle in again, then Breaker rises again. So Cena has to resort, I think, to ultimately, this is submission moves to get Braun out of this. But I think at the end of the day, Raw on Netflix, Cena comes out, challenges Braun, or Braun comes out, just as Cena. Cena comes out, challenges him, and he wins. We get our Grand Slam champion on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. Braun just defeated, down. He taps out to that submission move, and we get Cena as our Grand Slam champion finally, and he can mark that bucket list off, right away. First time for everything. It's a big show again, Raw on Netflix. So let's get a title change right away. Um, and move on with Cena as an intercontinental heavyweight champion. Got to get all that in, heavyweight champion. I feel like heavyweight doesn't get mentioned off with that title, but it is the title name. On the next Raw, so I know I spent a lot of time on one episode there, but I feel like that's almost kind of the foundation too of the final year for Cena. It's like he's pursuing so much. He's just setting up, I think, a lot what we might be able to see. The next Raw, we get we're gonna run it back here, and we are declaring. And Cena's gonna come out and he's gonna declare an open challenge for the IC title, running it back just like we did the open challenge with US title. The open challenge is back again, just with a different title. That first night, Ludwig Kaiser, he's been on the hunt for this title, so we get him as a first opponent. I think that's just a good kind of precursor to what might be coming down the road. I think I think even Kaiser kind of gets the blessing from Gunther. Is like, you're fine. I know you want to get your hand on Cena kind of thing, but Kaiser comes after Cena. He is the first contender for the IC title for the Open Challenge. No go though. Cena retains. I think that we get a good match between the two of them, but Cena does end up retaining. Um, on that next Raw for the Open Challenge. So we progress to January 20th, another Open Challenge, next chapter. We get a backstage segment as we finally see CM Punk and Cena interact for the first time since for the first time television since Punk's been back, I believe. So they're showing if they're crossing paths. Cena just holds up the title, and he's like, "Punk, you want this?" And Punk just replies, "Well, no, no, John. I don't really. I think it's a little too early for us to go 1-on-1 since you just got back, and that's not really the title I really want to hold right now. So thanks, but no thanks, bud. I'll see you soon, though." Kind of an interaction between those two. So we don't get Punk. We get a nice little tease there, but we don't get Punk that night against Cena. But we do get Sheamus coming out for the second challenger for the Open Challenge for John Cena. Uh, Once again, it feels like we always see Sheamus in that title picture, and he falls short. I see him falling short again here. So Cena retaining once again in the Open Challenge. After the match, though, Breaker comes back out. He's tired of all this right now. He gets on the mic and he demands a rematch. So the next Saturday Night Main Event is January 25th. That Saturday. So Breaker comes out on that Raw before it, and he's like, I demand my rematch. And Cena basically shuts him down. He's like, nope, we're doing my open challenge. You are not in line for your rematch yet. Get back to the line. People are lining up for this open challenge. Get back to the line. You don't get this just yet. Um, so going to the Saturday Night Main Event, this open challenge is the main event of Saturday night's main event. It feels weird saying main event of something main event, but
Yeah.
um, so being the main event, crowd is hyped for Cena, and there's one other person that probably can make the crowd even louder for for a wrestler. The one wrestler that can probably make the crowd louder, that's not Cena, is Mr. Jey Uso himself. As we get Yeet starting, as Jey Uso gets to come down and challenge John Cena for the IC title, and we just get another wonderful match. I feel another player that's perfect for here for the storyline, and we we get this just wonderful match. On a side note, Drew McIntyre's back, and he is just raising Cain through everything right now, and he's already calling out every Bloodline member. He took out Sammy this past weekend. They had another backstage, I believe, tussle this past weekend. He took out Jimmy on SmackDown last Friday. So he's working in his way a list. He's working on his hit list of the Bloodline. So during this Saturday Night Main Event, while we get a wonderful match between John Cena and Jey Uso, Jey almost has a chance to win it, but I see Drew McIntyre coming out here and interfering in this match, um, not to help Cena at all. He's not helping Cena at all. He doesn't care about John Cena. He's out here just to make sure Jey Uso doesn't get a title again. He's out here to make sure Jey Uso just goes away. He's doing his best to make him go away, the bloodline go away. So while we get a great match at Saturday night's main event, we get a no contest at the end of it with McIntyre interfering in the match between these two. So in the following Raw, the go home Raw before Rumble, um, Adam Pearce, John Cena are chatting. John Cena's not doing the open challenge. He got a little bit of that. He got a little bit of that melee with McIntyre interfering. He just needs a little time off after a couple matches within a week. But him and Pearce and Cena are chatting. Pearce just tells him he wants to go big for his title defense at the Rumble. So Adam Pearce proposes a fatal four way. He's like, "You up for a fatal four way, Cena?" Cena's like, "Yeah, more than willing to accept. I've got some time to chill, relax, get prepared for whoever the opponents are." Cena accepts, no problem. He's like, "Well, and then he's like, "Well, who's gonna be in it?" And then Adam Pearce comes up. "Well, I've got 3 qualifying matches for that tonight. First qualifying match will be Sheamus versus Kaiser. The second qualifying match will be Damian Priest versus Finn Balor, kind of helping, adding to that feud. And the third qualifying match will be Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker. That'll be like match number 5 between these two, I think. But I think very appropriate around this title right now. The winners of these matches, I'd have Sheamus winning his match, Finn Balor winning his match, and Braun Breaker winning his respective match. So we get our fatal 4-way going into the Rumble um, in Indianapolis. So after that's all decided, Cena's just pumped up for it. He hits Indianapolis style. We get a banger. Since Sheamus is in this match, we got to use that word. We get a banger of a match between those 4: Sheamus, Balor, Braun, and Cena. Sheamus beats on Balor to start, while Cena and Braun tangle once again. Eventually, Braun Breaker lays out everyone outside the ring with a spear, or just throw them into the wall. Then one by one, they all get back in the ring. Everybody gets their spot on someone. We see Cena land an AA on Balor. He gets another. He lands an AA on Balor. Lands an AA on Braun Breaker. Turns around to look for Sheamus. Eats a bro kick from Sheamus. So once he's down and out for a little bit from the bro kick, Sheamus turns to Braun Breaker. Then he goes to then goes to Balor. Does his 10 beats. Crowd loves that when he just beats on those guys' chests. He gives 10 of them each to both Braun Breaker and Balor. Cena avoids them, and he attempts another AA on Sheamus after all this. But instead of actually getting him up on that AA, Sheamus counters it, another bro kick. Sheamus isn't done though here. He gets another brogue kick on Balor. Um, right after Balor hit a coup de grace on Braun Breaker. So everybody's just kind of hitting their big moves at the end of this match here. Turn back to Sheamus and Cena. Sheamus gets his third brogue kick on Cena, just for good measure. Make sure he gets one more in, and we get another first in 2025 here. We gain another Grand Slam champion as Sheamus takes the Intercontinental Championship at the Royal Rumble. So Cena got it, lost it, and he's got to figure out how to move on. He's a little dejected because I think he wanted that long reign with as an IC champion. He knew he was his only chance, so why not have a long reign, keep that open challenge going as much as possible, really help as many talent as much as possible. So he's ejected. He walks backstage. We get a couple matches on the PLE card, but in between a couple matches, we cut back to Cena backstage, and Nick Aldis has found him, and Montez Ford is in tow with Nick Aldis. Aldis goes on to tell Cena that Angelo Dawkins had a spot in the Rumble, but he had a mysterious attacker. So Nick, Montez Ford, they're like, what better person to fill Angelo Dawkins' spot than John Cena? So they're like, John, would you just had this fatal four way. Um, it was a tough match, but they're just like, would you take this Rumble spot? And Cena just looks at him, and he's like, yeah. I mean, I lost IC title. That World Heavyweight Championship title is in my sights, or a world title is in my sights. That's my first chance to do it. Let's do it. So, but we don't get that response from Cena right away. I feel we get like another match in the card, and right before the Rumble starts, we cut to Cena again backstage, and he's getting ready. He's getting ready. He's got even different merch on, brand new merch, of course, because WWE loves to push different shirts, like 5 different shirts. So he's a new merch, never give up, final ride, whatever that says, but um, warming up for the Rumble. So that confirms right there. Yeah, we will see him in the Rumble. I have him at Rumble. I kind of a random spot, but I wanted him later. But I put John Cena in the Rumble at number 22, and I have John Cena. I'm just going to fast forward to the final 6 competitors in the ring. John Cena is going to be in the final 6. That final 6 with him is going to be Drew, Jey Uso, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton. At this point, we're starting to thin the crowd. There's been 10 or 12 guys in there, so they're just taking out people, and everybody just stops, looks around, and it's like nobody likes what Drew McIntyre is doing right now. He's just completely he's gone off the rails even more than he did this year with CM Punk, and he's just taking out all these Bloodline guys. And with Jey and Roman in there right now, they just look at everybody as like, let's get him out of this and let's settle this between us. So in the 6, McIntyre is the first out of the 6. So everybody gangs up him, toss him over. During this, Orton's kind of playing both sides, and I see Randy Orton dumping Jey Uso over the ropes at the same time. So our final 4 of the Rumble, I have it as CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Orton, and Cena. Just kind of based off of some history, Roman and Punk just face off. They're just nose to nose. They're just like on each other. No one's making a move. They're just doing their stare down. Meanwhile, Cena and Orton are looking at each other and they just go at each other. It's like let's go. We haven't done this. We haven't gone this in forever. And I even mentioned to you the other week. I thought it was interesting too. We have Cena and Orton have faced each other 21 times televised in one-on-one matches. Um, with Cena actually winning a majority of those, so it's like let's get a taste of what this rivalry could be at least one more time, or what the rest of this year might hold for Cena and Orton. And so to me, this is like the perfect jumping off point for those two, for this year. So Orton and Cena lock up. Going back to Roman and Punk really quick, I envision Roman just yelling out, "No favors tonight." He just dumps Punk. he just takes Punk really quickly, dumps him over, and he's like, "No favors tonight for you, man." And then he just watches Orton and Cena going at it. He just lets them be, takes the time, takes some rest, gathers himself, lets Orton and Cena go at it, and then Cena finally throws Orton over. And as soon as he does, Roman's just laying there and waiting. Roman hits Cena with a Superman punch, knocks him off balance just enough to where he's able to pick Cena up and throw Cena over the top rope. So while Cena is in the Royal Rumble, he just had a brutal fatal four way. He doesn't get that Royal Rumble chance in my booking um, to go after a title. I don't have a 31 um, in here. Roman wins clean. That's the end of the Rumble right there. Cena had a chance, and he takes a long time to walk to the locker room after that because he's like, oh, I was so close, so close. I almost want Roman to say something like "suffering succotash" as he throws Cena over the ropes. Just calling back to their days. Way, that's like what 10 years ago.
Please, anything with that, please. Anything but suffer and succotash, no more.
Well, one more time. We got to reference it one more time. Uh,
Oh boy.
so the Raw after the Rumble, Cena finally gets a break. Like he's been going hard, fatal four way, Rumble appearance, defending the title pretty much every Raw after he won it on the Netflix debut. So we get a nice little video message from him. He thanks the fan for their support, their love for him. He's like, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. He's like, um, and he's like, it's like, don't forget, we never give up. So I haven't given up yet, but it's like I'm taking a week. I gotta take a week. My body's just, I'm like you said, he's 52. um, but the next week, we just get a couple promos from Cena. He appears on both Raw and SmackDown, and he's like, he just pleads to the fans, to all this, to Pierce, is like, I need to be in the Elimination Chamber. He says, I'll face anyone on either show. Just Adam, Nick, please grant me a match so I can qualify for the Elimination Chamber. So he does get a match. And kind of looking around at the roster, kind of looking where I kind of had a little bit of a tough time kind of picking out someone that would give him a good match, but not necessarily very young talent or not reuse someone that we've been using for the last 6 weeks, of this first 6 weeks of this booking, and I landed on Shinsuke Nakamura. I feel like that'd be a good opponent. They've only faced off one time back in 2016 or 17, I forget which one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if Shinsuke's still the U.S. champion at this point. I think it'd be kind of a nice touch if he is, just in a lot of different little ways. If he's still the U.S. champ here, and Shinsuke's like, yeah, I want to be a double champ. It's like, yeah, I want to qualify the chamber. I feel like every U.S. champ kind of does that. It's like, yeah, I want to be the double champ. We've seen it happen, but it's rare. But I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to pull together. Um, so he gets his match against Shinsuke. I think it's a good quality match. One of just fun, entertaining for everybody. Cena wins. He qualifies for the chamber. The other qualifiers for the chamber, I'm kind of going with a uh, friends or foes and allies of for the elimination chamber here. So the other qualifiers I put into the chamber. I don't have their opponents, so I'm just putting these guys. They win their qualifiers. AJ Styles, CM Punk, Randy Orton, but we got to give Cena a couple allies, a couple guys, or at least a couple faces in this chamber. So I'm throwing LA Knight in there, and once again Jey Uso, because Jey Uso just gets put in like every big match. So it's he's Jey Uso apparently. So he's just and that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. When I say that, I have nothing against Jey. I love Jey. That experience of doing the Yeats and his music live is wonderful. Been there, so it's definitely nothing against him. But I feel like he's that guy that can fill in any big type of match, win or lose. He's not gonna get hurt. He was the last person announced for Survivor Series for the which I thought was very interesting. So I mean, there's the sky's the limit for Jey. So I feel like he can be put in any big match and win or lose, he's still Jey Uso. Um, we get one of those tag matches to kind of see who enters the chamber first. Um, and he gets so they pair Cena and AJ Styles, um, in a match. You kind of putting tensions tag teams, like the 6-man tag teams, um, or 3 2-man teams. Um, Cena, so he's any, kind of one of those tag matches to again see who enters the chamber first. Um, so John Cena, AJ Styles, they will kick off this chamber match for the number one contender. Um, and again, I wanted to go with this foes and ally, kind of a fun thing because I feel like Cena will get moments with each of these guys that will kind of um, help provide more context to my booking throughout the rest of this year for Cena, for potential matches that we're going to have, kind of whether it's kind of figuring out who his retirement match is going to be, or who some of these summer matches are going to be, when we get to the next 4 months, that episode. But we get to the chamber. I thought about trying to figure out an order for who gets eliminated by who, but I was like, when you have these people, these 6 guys, I feel like it can be anybody pinning anybody to eliminate them. So at the end of it, I actually have Cena and Styles going bell to bell for the chamber, and I have Cena pinning AJ Styles to become the number one contender for the at this for the World Heavyweight Championship. At this point, Roman's declared that he's going after the Universal title. I believe I haven't really, as a side note, kind of really haven't quite figured that out, but yeah, I feel like it would make more sense. Either he's not declared or he's going after Cody again. Um, however that may work out. So number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, and at this time, I still have it on Gunther. And so I thought it was interesting as you were telling your booking. I was like, we're both funneling into a similar booking at WrestleMania, but again, I just feel like outside of maybe a Cena Orton match or Cena Punk match, it's like, or Cena enhancing a young talent. And I was like, I really can't really see another opponent for John Cena. And Gunther could lose and regain the championship on this road himself. In a way, because I feel like that's a possibility. But I think at the end of the day, it's still gonna be on Gunther at WrestleMania 41. So we're gonna see John Cena and Gunther here. Um, Kind of similar to what you what you were saying too. Post Chamber, we don't get any matches between the two of them. Obviously, um, that first week after Chamber, we don't even see Cena or Gunther. The next week though, John Cena comes out and he just really just gives a heartwarming promo on just how much this championship means to him. He wants to win this for the people. He wants to win this for his legacy. He's really realizing, wow, I have a legacy. I do want to make sure I cement, and I want to be at the top of that mountain. Um, he still sees He mentions in the promo he still sees Randy Orton out here doing his thing, and he's like, if I can, he's like, just to enhance that rivalry more. It's like I want to put one more between Orton and myself because maybe Orton wins one or two more before he calls it quits. So he gives into a lot of personal reasons why he wants to do it, but it's very very heartwarming. Really, just it gives to the fans. Really was you know just says to the fans like, you've been there to support me. I want to win this for you. The next week on Raw, at this point we're like, I think the second week in April, um, Gunther cuts his own promo, and he's like, you know, you can't stop me. I am a machine. I'm the ring general. Um, I don't lose. I'm not a. He's like, I'm not a force you've ever met before. I'm smarter than a Brock Lesnar. I'm just formidable in so many different ways. and he just runs down just so many things that's like, you know, that where he can beat them. He's like, I've I'm getting in shape better and better as I go, and we've seen that with Gunther. You know, it's like you look at early years of Gunther compared to how Gunther looks now, and I mean, like every single year, he's just like that machine more and more. Um, I almost kind of liken this to like Rocky Balboa. I could, um, uh, oh no, I just forgot the the
Ivan
name.
Drago.
Yeah, Ivan Drago. You know, I kind of liken that to the Balboa Drago a little bit in Rocky Four, where it's like he's the machine. Gunther's that Drago, where he's the machine. And Cena's kind of the Rock. He's like never give up attitude. I'm gonna do it. So you know, I see them just you know cutting promos separately, and then finally the final. Um, Actually, no, that'd been like more of March. The final Raw of March, we get Gunther and Cena face to face. Um, and you know we don't get many words between them. We don't get many words. They say a few things. They say a lot of things off mic. We don't even get it mic'd up. We just get that moment, tense moment at the end of Raw. At the end of Raw 2, and this sets up for Kaiser to soften Cena up. I think Gunther goes to Kaiser and say, just I don't want to take any chances. I know I can beat him, but we also know how he doesn't give up. Let's teach him a lesson. So right at the end of Raw, we go off Raw with Kaiser attacking Cena, and we go to Black that way. So the week after that, April, actually no, 2 weeks. Sorry, 2 weeks after that, we kind of leave Cena off a little bit again. And then we get a kind of a warm up match 2 weeks before Mania. Kaiser Cena. Cena wins. Kaiser, Gunther's there in the background, doesn't interfere, doesn't touch, but wants to really kind of see him up close in the ring without having to do anything physically, and just kind of smile. Even though he knows Kaiser lost, he just smiles and he tells Cena, "I know how to beat you. I know how to beat you." It's like I have submissions too. Don't forget. I can power slam. I'm strong. So don't forget that. There's that the type of mentality. So we finally get to WrestleMania 41 between Gunther, John Cena, and uh, both just attempt all their moves so many times. You know, it'd be hard to not put this in a main event. I'd be shocked if this wasn't a main event match. If this is one of our um, Mania matches. Um, we just get a showcase. Good old 20-25 minute match between these two. And in the usual tropes of a Cena match where he um, starts out strong, and then he just takes a beating, and he comes back. But it takes a beating again. He's gonna and Gus is gonna throw those chops out. He's gonna throw a bunch of power slams. Cena will get some AAs in. We're getting there to where it's like every moment you think that Gunther's gonna win, Cena kicks out. Every time you think Cena finally has him, you know, um, Gunther kicks out. Um, Cena tries his submission, but Gunther's almost a little bit too big for some of these submission moves, and he struggles. He gets him locked in a little bit, but then just can't quite do it. Um, I think we finally and Gunther gets his in, but I mean, I, I I just see this kind of, they just trade their submission moves, they trade their power moves, multiple AAs, power slams, that what have you. And I think we finally just see no interference, no Kaiser here. I think it's just got to be Gunther Cena. Uh, Gunther just does eventually overpower him. He finally just beats him. He starts beating him and beating him and beating him until he bleeds in his chest. That's how bad he's gonna have to beat Cena. I feel to beat Cena, to gain victory over Cena. So I have Gunther winning WrestleMania 41. We saw triumph very early for Cena in this booking, but a lot of heartbreak since February 1st, and just kind of a where do we go next with Cena? It's a He wants that number 17 for so many reasons, but Gunther is just the guy that's the force that no one can beat right now. Yeah, and Cena tried and he couldn't. So I think it'll be very interesting to see kind of you know what develops from there. But yeah, Cena's kind of going to go into his summer with a little bit of heartbreak because I don't really see him overpowering Gunther. But that's my booking for the first 4 months for John Cena's final year.
Wonderful. That was very, very good. I So yeah, I love the two different approaches that we took. Obviously, it ended up funneling into a similar ending for this video, but obviously we took two different approaches in terms of this. Now look, I loved your first. Obviously, I have a different view of what the audience is seeing here, but your first bullet point of the bucket list. So I also have a bucket list for what Cena wants, right? I just haven't had Cena necessarily explicitly say what his bucket list is or go after, that Intercontinental Championship right away, or a lot of the dream matches yet haven't happened. Obviously, he's tied up with some of the wonderful people that he's going to be continuing to brawl with as this story goes on. But I loved that I mean, it was instant. Like, how am I going to start this thing? He wins the IC title right away, and I like that because it's like it you yep, Cena's in, he's here, we're going. And I can see the pros and cons of kind of both. Like for me, I like that, like the slow, like I'm kind of doing a slow burn. Cena hasn't done anything. Now he has. He's performed admirably. He's still John Cena. We could see that. And now obviously at the end his mentality's good. Like he's not, he's not completely dejected and thinks he's going to fail all the time now. But he ultimately has not accomplished any of the goals that he set out to accomplish. So now he's got 8 months to do it instead of 12. So how is that story going to play? And then yours is nope, IC title right away. We're going to get it out of the way because then at Saturday night's main event, I think it was a Saturday night's main event, unless I'm mistaken. He loses it, and or Royal Rumble, I think he loses
Rumble loses it at Rumble. Yep.
it actually. Royal Rumble, he loses it, and now you're like, cool. Now he's got 11 months to do like two things, and I could stretch out those stories and really kind of let those breathe. And, is he going to have a title reign at all? Is he going to have a super short one, and then the rest of it's told really cool stories? Is he going to have a really is he going to do like a Ric Flair where like, hey, I just won this championship in like March, or I guess not March, but in like May or June, and then the person who beats me, I'm going to retire, and that's it. And then he has like a 6 or 7 month title reign where he has matches every week or whatever it is to see who could beat him, and then he just beats a whole bunch of. You can go in so many different directions with this, and I don't know what it's going to be, but you really stretched it out, and I really, really like that you got one of those big bucket list things out of the way right away, so that the rest of that story can breathe. And again, I like the story I'm telling, otherwise I wouldn't be telling it. But I think the fatal flaw that I'm running into right now with mine is I have a lot of things that I want Cena to do, people that I want Cena to face, and now I only have 8 months to do it. I don't have 12.
Right.
So I've really got to squeeze a lot out in those 8 months. So I really like what you did.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely wanted to, like, there be interactions between Punk and Cena right away, but we know Punk is really tied up with Rollins right now. We don't really kind of know how long that might stretch out. That could be done at Rumble. That could stretch out to Mania. I'm not really sure where they're going with that story. It's gonna be great no matter what they do. Um, and I feel like there's got to be some random tangles with Orton somehow before they finally truly get a nice one-on-one. AJ Styles is another one that I kind of brought up, and that's why I would put him in the chamber. And that's why I kind of had the chamber the way I did, because I was like, we've had a lot of epic tangles up where I almost don't know if we need to go back to those two. I don't know if we need to go back to those two as much as we might need to go to Orton or even Punk. And I texted you this the other day, doing some research. In one-on-one matches, Cena has a decidedly advantage over Orton. I was surprised by that. They faced each other 20, 21 times, one on one. There's been some DQs and stuff in there on each side, but decidedly Cena has a win advantage no matter how he's gotten the win over Orton. But when we get to Cena versus Punk, this was what shocked me because I figured this was going to be vice versa. 14 times they faced one on one. They both have 6 wins each. So to me, that's just like when I came across that. I'm just gonna throw a little spoiler out here. That's gonna play a lot in my last 4 months of Cena's final year.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think the best part for me about John Cena's final year is there are a lot of things that are going to require really intricate stories to make it all make sense and to not have it be disrespectful to younger talent. It's really hard. And for those of you at home that are maybe thinking about doing something like this with your friends or your family and trying to get into this booking thing, let me tell you the big pitfall is you have to understand deeply the characters that are involved. Because if you don't, it's going to come off as disingenuous. It's not going to make sense. It's going to be, in a lot of ways, disrespectful. Like, what happens if in Dan's booking, let's say, he had Jey Uso turn on John Cena, right? He faced Jey in a open challenge match, and instead of Drew interfering in that fantastic match, you had Jey Uso cheat to win and take the Intercontinental Championship from John Cena. Not only would you be mad that Cena lost, you would be mad at Dan because you'd be like, Dan, I get you're trying to tell interesting stories, and that is a plot twist that I didn't see coming, so sure. But would Jey really do that? Quite frankly, the answer is no. Jey would not do that. But if he had him do that, it would be disingenuous. So like that's kind of the thing is you have to know when the stories are necessary to tell, and you have to know when stories are not necessary to tell. And I think personally for my booking, and I hope you guys at home like it, and Dan, I really hope you like it too. I think I've married away with certain superstars and certain big time matches that we want to see John Cena have before he goes that don't necessarily need a story. You just really want to see them fight.
Yeah.
You just want to see them touch either one more time because it's been years or just at all. And then there are some that really desperately need a story, like Gunther, right? It's hard for me to just sit up here and say that John Cena is going to have like I said this earlier, having John Cena lose a lot or just struggle and lose to Jey Uso, let's just say, no offense to Jey, but lose to Jey Uso and then have a 50-50 match at WrestleMania with Gunther who's just going to tear him apart. Like that's where it becomes okay, this just doesn't make any sense. Like you could tell a story in NXT with Johnny Gargano overcoming all the odds and winning the NXT Championship, and they did it, and it's my favorite match of all time. Don't at me. But if you did it right now, would it make any sense? No. And that's the whole point, is it doesn't matter who the characters are. It matters if the story makes sense. So anybody who's thinking about doing this, you got to have a deep understanding of the characters. I think what I love about your booking is you have a great understanding of each character. You have a great understanding of what everybody would want, what everybody would probably say, or at least close to it. Even just the little thing of Cena's beat up and dejected after losing the IC title, and Nick Aldis is, what are we going to do? Montez or Angelo Dawkins got attacked, and Montez Ford would not He's not the kind of guy that would say, "Give it to me." Now, he may have already been in the Rumble, to be fair. That wasn't necessarily clarified, but let's say he wasn't. He wouldn't necessarily be the guy that says, "Give it to me." He would be the kind of character that would look at John Cena and say, "You know what? Give it to John. He deserves it. He's earned it." Montez Ford would 100% do that. Not every character would, though.
I definitely had a couple of different things kind of around that time, but when I kind of came across some of the news around Bronson Reed, I had to kind of pivot some things that I
Sure,
don't,
me
you know,
too, obviously. Yeah.
so it was a similar idea, but I was like, wait, involving the GM and a upstanding character like that, and it goes with the story beat of what's going down in SmackDown right now. We're not that far out from the Rumble. Yeah, we're still 6 weeks, but the way Triple H and company are kind of telling stories right now, it wouldn't be unreasonable to have another attack on the one of them, maybe before the Rumble. To kind of go with their story beats. And I like what you said too, about understanding the characters. And I feel like I learned a lot of that from understanding you too. It's not just. I think when we first started doing this, I was kind of like, oh, I just want to see this match and this match, and sometimes it worked because it just
Hmm.
happened to be,
Sure.
close enough to what was going on to where it's like, yeah. But yeah, it's very much of borrowing from one of our favorite podcasters, not Sam, not Sam. um,
Hmm.
it's the watching the product, and I feel like paying attention to that stuff more and more. The more you're able to pay attention, the more it's like that can make some of the like stuff like this easier. Again, and that's why I asked about The Rock too. It's like I really like it even more once I asked the question because I was like, that gets us something a lot of fans want to see, get some touching, but you don't, again, like you said, you don't necessarily have to pull a story, but it still helps the story overall for Cena, and it helps the story overall with Bloodline and Cody and everything too, where it's not like, it's not just a random thing. It's like, I'm using this for other stuff, but it's a fun little moment where they can collide and then separate again. That's why that's why I had, Punk with him the way I've had. It's like where they touch, they interact, but they're not going to get an Orton. They're not going to get that full one-on-one match just yet.
Hmm. And for those of you at home as well, I promise you're gonna get your dream matches. Don't worry, I got you. I'm not gonna starve everybody of all the dream matches. I don't know if I'll be able to hit 100% of them. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a lot of time, but I'm gonna hit as many of them as I can. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to get it, but again, I gotta you gotta figure out what stories you want to tell that make sense,
Yep.
that don't need the story, and what makes sense because you told the story, right?
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to continuing this, man. I really, really like, again, I loved how you just kind of got that thing out of the way to where you still got 11 months and you could tell whatever story you want. I feel like me coming up with the rest of mine is frick. Okay, I gotta have him do this and yet still be here for this so that this could happen so that later he could do this, and then oh my god, then it's this, and then this person is going to be here. Okay, so what? And it's just a whole mess because there's not a lot of time. But the cool thing about that is if I feel that, Cena's going to be feeling that in my story too. He's going to be feeling like there's not a lot of time. So that's going to be the really cool thing. Now,
Yeah.
again, I'm just looking forward to this, man.
Yeah.
This was a blast. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really intrigued to see what others think about this too. Like, who, what direction do you guys think we're going to go in? Who do you think is more realistic? I don't know. I mean, I would say yours is just more realistic because you didn't have The Rock come out at number 31. That's pretty out there, to be fair. But at the same time,
But it still works.
I won't tell stories that I don't like. So what?
Yeah, but yeah, exactly, and it still works. Like you said, do whatever he wants to do.
Yep.
I feel he's gonna ruin someone Parade again this year somehow. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, he's not gonna be in 41. Okay, sure. I won't believe it until WrestleMania 41 actually happens that he's not
Right.
there because he ruined it last year. and he's gonna ruin someone's parade again this year, whether it's Cena or Roman or Cody or who knows who, how everyone's get involved. Maybe it's
You know what would be really
solos or for
funny?
twos or whatever. It's gonna be what's that?
I think it would be really funny if The Rock came out at number 31, won the Rumble, and then just never showed up, like at all. And they were like, I guess we gotta have an elimination chamber match to determine the number one contender for both of them now, because The Rock hasn't answered anybody's phone calls or text messages or anything, and so they do, and then everybody just kind of like waits. It's like, oh, obviously The Rock's gonna come out before WrestleMania, and he just doesn't. And then like at WrestleMania, everybody's like, is he gonna come out at WrestleMania and be like, it's my match now, why? And then he just doesn't. Like he just never comes out, and everyone's so confused. And then like 6 months later, he comes out and he's like, all right, yep, I won the Royal Rumble, so I'm gonna main event this WrestleMania. And they're like, that's not how it works. It was for that. Nope, nowhere in the contract does it say that it has to be at that year's WrestleMania. It could be at next year's WrestleMania, and you can't do nothing about it. And sure enough, they're looking through the papers like, oh crap, it doesn't say the current WrestleMania.
You gotta
Crap,
rewrite
screwed
this.
it all
You
up
gotta
now.
rewrite this.
It would make no sense, but it would be hilarious if he was just like, actually, I can literally just, I want a Royal Rumble. If I want to do WrestleMania 45, I could do that. I don't care. Like, he can just do it whenever he wants. He can just like show up the night before WrestleMania and be like, yeah, I'm in this match now. Like, just at any point. Like, that'd be so funny. But no, obviously that would not. That would be terrible to just waste. I mean, it would be such a mockery of the Royal Rumble if they did that. Granted, if he came out at number 31, you risk doing that anyway if you don't tell it right. But again, to me, the way I told it, I feel like it makes sense to do it that way. If you're going to do it, have it be a plot. Like literally, Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa are laughing their heads off. And I hope somebody caught it, or you caught it, somebody caught it, that I opened it by saying, at the beginning of the show, Solo Sikoa said the real tribal chief is going to win the Royal Rumble tonight. Obviously implying that it was himself and not Roman Reigns, because he said not Roman Reigns, the real tribal chief's going to win it. But he never said his own name, because the real tribal chief is The Rock. And so when they lost, it was all a plan. It was a plan to have Cena think he won, and then The Rock come out, and that's why they were laughing. So, like, I was hoping, to kind of tell that little intricate story of it was all a plot to get the championship back to the real tribal chief at WrestleMania, which is The Rock. By the way, just going to spoil it for you because it doesn't matter for this booking in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't end up back on the real tribal chief. Cody retains because why not? Cody retains. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, dude, I had so much fun. This is awesome. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. I feel like we both have a lot to kind of really work through, and I think I'm already kind of changing some things in my mind. I have I keep on writing things down, then changing it, and writing things down and changing it, and it's like I'm probably gonna keep doing that until we record next time too. I'm like, no, maybe this would be better, or what have you. But I was glad we were able to get this recorded before January 1st. We're obviously doing this still a couple weeks out, but I feel like we're close enough to everything to where not much should change, barring injuries. Knock on wood. We don't wish that upon anybody, sports,
Right.
wrestling especially. But any final thoughts for me, Todd, before we close this out?
Yeah, I mean, I have been the same way. Obviously, you guys saw the rewrites sneak through where I forgot to change out some of the names with Rollins and Sami Zayn, or the names of their finishers and stuff, where, swapping guys out, just kind of rethinking things. Obviously, hopefully you guys could bear with us when those little mistakes happen, and it is hard because I personally am going to have people that don't know a whole lot about wrestling watch this because, they want to learn more about me or they want to learn more about wrestling. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing for those people that may not necessarily know, I knew what he meant. I knew he meant Sami Zayn. He just accidentally said Seth Rollins. Well, they may not know that. They may be confused and stuff. So hopefully that wasn't too bad for those specific people, or for anybody else, obviously. But on top of that, I also had trouble with logistics of when which pay-per-views are going to be, because technically they haven't been announced yet. And that's been the hardest part for me, is so I've kind of have just had to go off of last year's schedule, which works for what I wanted. So it actually ended up being fine, but it could be different in real life, which would just screw up everything. But obviously, we're not here for accuracy, we're here for fun.
Right, right.
So,
I think,
um,
I think there'll be some that we know are pretty close to a date. I have some things I've written down actually that I'll send to you after this, um,
wonderful.
but it's a kind of maybe so, and then we can both be on the same page. We're not both like thinking, oh, this PLE is, so that's our goal for everybody watching, is to kind of both be on the same page with certain dates and everything, with and how we use them, again, as Tyler mentioned, he didn't, use a Saturday night main event that's coming up in January. I did. It may not be, it may not be involved. It may not be any changes or anything when that does come around. Cena may not do it because I've mentioned that's tough. Cena's going to do 35 to 40 appearances, and that's appearance matches. So we're kind of trying to balance that too through these bookings
Yep.
of he's appearing, he's having matches, but it's like, where do we go? I feel like I think the first 4 months are probably easier with the numbers because I feel like we both are in that spot of, okay, we didn't use up too many, we use up maybe just enough, but it's like, again, like you were saying, now we get into crunch time of what do we still want to do? How do we want to help out certain brands? Oh boy, we
Hmm.
might be crunched or we might be just right. But yeah, so
Yep.
that'll be kind of fun with this too. It's kind of like, kind of figuring that out. But we'll definitely both be on the same page going, with the rest of it, so we know kind of like, hey, this is we expect one July PLE, we expect two September PLE, November PLEs or whatever,
Hmm.
and based off of recent history again. So, and if honestly, if anybody has any questions, thoughts, fact checks, leave it down in the comments below. We definitely appreciate it. We're just two guys that's having fun doing this, but we love doing this. We've been doing this for a little bit over a year now together, on whether it's Tyler's podcast, Lopes Goes Last, or mine. But Tyler, again, I do appreciate you doing this with me. Again, would love for everybody watching this to subscribe to my channel, Tyler's channel for sure. Take a look at what we have going on here. Appreciate you guys following along. Any questions, comments, leave a like, subscribe again, all that fun stuff all the other YouTubers say. I'll get that down one of these days. But again, we appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you guys again next time.